Wisteria wanted the queen's throne, she had to take it, but that plan failed. A guard ordered the criminal Lady Wisteria Neige Blanche, daughter of the Duke, to get down. She was being taken to the royal castle's dungeon. Wisteria confirmed that yes, she was about to be executed for attempted murder. The guard told her she would wait in the dungeon until the day of her execution. He called her a foolish girl for trying to kill His Highness's fiancée. In this country, the one Prince Alphonse of Chronos chose as his fiancée was the viscount's daughter, Margaret. Wisteria's father was after the royal family's fortune. He ordered her to kill Margaret, get rid of the viscount's daughter, and never surrender the queen's seat. He called Wisteria a disappointing thing but told her to at least try to be of some use to the house. He said her beloved grandfather would be delighted. Wisteria replied with a quiet yes, obeying her father's command. Wisteria wondered when it was that her heart stopped feeling anything at all, that she stopped even trying to think for herself. She thought about the words she had repeated so many times. If only Margaret were gone. She wondered when she stopped even understanding those words. Wisteria was brought out in chains and placed before the execution platform. The announcement was made that the execution of the criminal Wisteria Neige Blanche would now be carried out. Prince Alphonse declared that Wisteria committed the grave sin of trying to harm his fiancée, and that she deserved no mercy. By rights, she would be sent to the gallows or the guillotine. But in light of her late grandfather's achievements and service, the kingdom's knight commander had personally volunteered to pass judgment. The knight commander Garland stood before the chained Wisteria with his sword drawn. Wisteria called out his name. Garland looked at her and murmured her nickname, Wiz. Wisteria looked back at him and whispered, "You." Wisteria recalled that as a child, Garland had asked her if she had a dream. He told her that he wanted to be a knight. Garland said knights were so cool, like the ones in a book, beating the bad guys and protecting the weak like her grandfather. He declared that was the kind of knight he was going to be. Wisteria thought to herself that Garland really did make that childhood dream come true. The prince ordered Garland to strike and Garland responded that he would obey. Wisteria accepted that she was to be judged by Garland's own hand. She realized she had become one of the bad people. Garland swung his sword. Wisteria suddenly found herself waking up in a bed. She looked around confused, asking where she was. She recognized the room. It was not the royal dungeon but her own room. There were no chains on her. She was sure she had been executed. She recalled that Garland had fulfilled his dream while she became one of the bad people. What came back to her at the brink of death were childhood memories she had long forgotten. She clenched her fist and wondered where it all went wrong. A memory came to her of her father yelling that he would prove he was worthy of being head of the ducal house until the day she died, and asking if even she thought he was incompetent. Wisteria wondered if it was when she could no longer defy her father. A maid knocked on the door and told Wisteria that the master had returned from Narge and that he wished to tell her something at once. Wisteria asked about Narge. The maid confirmed it was from an inspection there. Wisteria said she would go now and dismissed the maid. She found it strange since her father should have come back from Narge much earlier. Walking down the stairs, she noticed the light was bright and said she remembered it. She approached a door and was startled. Her father scolded her for keeping him waiting. Wisteria apologized. She recognized that even his angry voice was the same. Her father told her to get ready to go out immediately. There was an event at the royal castle gardens hosted by the royal family. He said it was a rare chance to be chosen as His Highness's bride, and ordered her to bring back good news and not to fail. Wisteria agreed, saying yes, she would. Her father dismissed her. Wisteria did not want to believe it, but her maid came and told her to get ready. They went to the event. Wisteria wondered if time had turned back. At the royal garden party, other ladies gossiped that Wisteria was expressionless as ever. One told the other to be quiet or she would hear. They noted she was wearing gaudy makeup again, that she had not attended the Viscount family's tea party the other day, yet made sure to attend a royal gathering. Wisteria confirmed to herself that the scar was properly hidden. She thought that she only came because her father ordered her to, and that there was nothing she could do anymore. The crowd got excited because His Highness had arrived. Prince Alphonse appeared with Margaret beside him. Wisteria watched them. Ladies in the crowd commented on how happy His Highness looked and that he must be head over heels for Margaret. They noted Margaret was from a newly risen Viscount family. Others wondered who would dare come between the two of them. Wisteria thought to herself that she was the one who had forced herself between them last time. Other ladies remarked that Margaret's family may be a viscountal house, but they heard they were upstarts. One asked if it was far too unseemly for the future king to be so close to such a family. Wisteria sighed. She admitted that even she thought she was being terribly crass, but she had to obey her father's orders. Someone called out to her. Prince Alphonse greeted Wisteria, thanking her for coming and saying it had been a while. Wisteria was surprised. She called out Garland's name when she noticed him standing nearby. She had never imagined he would be there too. She greeted Garland, stammering that it had been a while. Garland seemed pleased that she remembered who he was. Wisteria said of course she did. Garland mentioned that they used to play together all the time. Wisteria confirmed they did. Garland said it was nothing and dismissed the thought. Wisteria noted that things had changed since then. Their positions, their worlds. Garland mentioned that His Highness seemed in especially good spirits today, and appeared to be quite taken with Margaret. Wisteria agreed, noting that the engagement might be announced any day now. She realized that if the same thing happened again, in a few days she would be ordered to assassinate Margaret. She said that would be a problem. Garland asked her what she meant. Wisteria told Garland that securing the queen's throne was the only reason she was alive. She asked what she was supposed to do. Garland asked if she truly believed that. He told her that she wanted to escape this fate, and asked if that was not what she truly wished for. Garland extended his hand to Wisteria and told her that if that was what she wanted, he would take her hand whenever she asked. Wisteria looked at him with wide eyes and called his name. Garland smiled back at her. 8 years ago, after Wisteria's grandfather, the former head of the house, passed away, her father inherited the title and changed. Young Wisteria mourned her grandfather. Her father held noble banquets at the estate every night. Even in broad daylight, Wisteria would often see him drinking with women she had never seen before. Even as a child, she could not help worrying whether things could really go on like this. She called out to her father. Wisteria begged her father to forgive her impertinence, but told him he had been acting strange lately. She suggested that perhaps he could try visiting the domain more often, since grandfather always said it was important to see how the people lived with your own eyes. Her father snapped, asking if even she thought he was incompetent. Her father struck her. Wisteria was stunned. He ordered a servant to take her to the underground cell and not let her out unless he gave the order. After that, Wisteria stopped defying her father. Wisteria had thought her fate was to be ordered to carry out the assassination and then be executed, just like before. She recalled Garland telling her that she wanted to escape this fate and asking if that was not what she truly wished for. He told her that if that was what she wanted, he would take her hand whenever she asked. Wisteria wondered what exactly this situation was. She wondered if Garland knew something. Garland apologized for being careless, making a duke's daughter stand and talk like that. Since she went to the trouble of coming, he asked if she would care to join him for tea. He led her along, telling her to come. Wisteria wondered if it was really okay for her to stay any longer. She thought about heading back soon. Garland asked if she had somewhere else to be. Wisteria thought that she had only come to get closer to His Highness Alphonse. She stammered that she did not have other plans, but worried that if her father found out she never even got to see His Highness and ended up having tea with some other man instead, things could easily turn out even worse than before. Wisteria told Garland that she did not want to become a bad person. Garland repeated her words, confused. Wisteria quickly said she did not mean anything by it. She realized that Garland did not actually know what would happen to her after this. She thought to herself that she gave up trying to figure him out because he was too clever. Garland laughed and said that he also tried to be good, and that it was the proper mindset for a knight after all. Garland told her that even something you do because you think it is for the best might make someone else miserable instead. Wisteria looked surprised. Someone called out to the commander, interrupting them. A subordinate named Magenta approached Garland and said he had something urgent to report. Garland asked what it was. Magenta glanced at Wisteria. Garland told him she was a friend and he could speak freely. Magenta reported that they had taken a suspicious man into custody earlier. When they checked his identity, he turned out to be the head of Narge in the Blanche domain. Wisteria recognized Narge as the place her father went to inspect the other day. Narge was the most prosperous town in the Blanche territory. As its head, the man should have had a certain status, but he was thin to the bone and his clothes were ragged. He did not look the part at all. The man begged the knight to please save Narge, saying that if things continued they would all starve to death. Wisteria was shocked, asking what this meant and what was happening. She asked where the man was now. Magenta said he had been taken to the infirmary inside the castle. Wisteria wondered why her father went to Narge if the situation was that bad. Garland said they would have to confirm how much of this was true and that he was concerned about the situation in Narge as well. He said it would be wise to hear the full story from the man at least once. Wisteria agreed. Wisteria knew that in any case it should really be the Blanche family's responsibility. She squeezed her hand. He ordered Magenta to quickly put together an investigation party and said he would lead it himself. Magenta protested that there was no need for the commander to go in person. Garland told him not to be ridiculous and that helping those in need was a knight's duty. Wisteria stared at Garland. Garland apologized to her and said he would have to excuse himself. He called her wise. Garland told Wisteria not to worry and that he would make sure the people of Narge were saved. Wisteria thought to herself and asked if she was. Wisteria called out to Garland to wait. She stopped herself and said no. She wondered if she was really still planning to run away. She thought about the things she had been turning her eyes away from all this time and that Garland was risking himself to protect them. Wisteria told Garland that Narge was land ruled by House Blanche, and that she believed she had a duty to see its condition with her own eyes as well. She asked if she could come with him. She declared that she would not repeat that fate again. Garland agreed, saying of course. Wisteria resolved that she had to talk to her father properly. She returned home. A servant announced to her father that the young lady had returned. Wisteria greeted him. Her father assumed she had managed to get closer to His Highness. He said good and told her to go back to her room for today. Wisteria thought that she had to say it and that if she did not, she would never move forward. She had been silent for 8 years. She called out to her father. Wisteria told her father that she had heard the people of Narge were suffering, and that she thought he might know the cause. She added that the damage was serious as well. Her father's expression twitched. He asked what of it. Wisteria said she would like to go there herself and investigate. Her father exploded, asking if she was saying his methods were wrong. Her father called Wisteria a failure of a daughter and yelled that she was troubling him over some baseless rumor she took at face value. He struck her. Wisteria wondered if she really could not change anything. Wisteria said to herself that it did not hurt. Garland appeared suddenly, catching her father's hand. Wisteria was stunned. Garland apologized for the intrusion on such short notice. Garland said he had come to escort Wisteria. She looked up at him in surprise. Garland asked her father what exactly he was about to do to his daughter. Her father clicked his tongue in anger and yelled about what the servants were doing, letting Garland in unannounced. The maid tried to apologize. Garland said Wisteria had done nothing wrong and that he was the one who insisted she come. He told her father that His Highness had ordered an investigation of Narge and that as the representative of House Blanche he would like Wisteria to accompany them. Her father protested that it was unnecessary and asked if Garland had not read his report. Garland said he did, and that it said nothing out of the ordinary if he recalled correctly. Garland asked if there should not be anything there the father was afraid of them seeing. He said he would hate to overstay his welcome. He took Wisteria's hand and told her they should go. Her father yelled for them to wait. Garland told Wisteria she could leave everything to him. They departed by carriage. Wisteria wondered tearfully if this was really the right thing to do. Garland told her not to worry since it was a direct order from the royal family and Lord Blanche would not be able to refuse it. Wisteria admitted that was true, but said she still could not properly convince her father. She said that if Garland had not stepped in, by now she would have. Garland told her that she still told her father how she felt, and that was a big step forward. Garland told Wisteria that Narge was still a good distance away and that she should try to get some rest. Wisteria stammered. Garland told her she really did her best. Wisteria asked if she did. Garland confirmed that yes, she did. Wisteria fell asleep leaning against Garland in the carriage. Garland looked at her with surprise. Garland quietly called out to Wisteria. She was breathing heavily, fast asleep against him. Garland whispered her name. He thought to himself that he had no idea her father treated her like that. Garland swore that he would never let Wisteria suffer like that again. He held her gently as she slept. A man with long light hair noted that Garland had left for Narge. A woman came in to deliver a report. He thanked her and she apologized for disturbing him while he had a guest, then quickly excused herself. The man remarked that they were finally enjoying some time alone and he had gone and made his guest wait. He set down a letter. He addressed the woman as Margaret. She was caught off guard and told him that was too kind, calling him Lord Alphonse. Margaret then brought up the matter of Narge, asking if it was true that the people there were suffering. Lord Alphonse sighed and explained that there were plenty of ministers who doubted the mayor's testimony. He added that they could not say anything for certain until they had a report from the site. Margaret said that if it was true it was a serious matter. Margaret said she only wished there was something she could do as well. Lord Alphonse called her a compassionate young woman. Margaret suddenly declared that she would go help with the relief effort too. Lord Alphonse was surprised. Margaret told His Highness to excuse her for the day, saying there was no time like the present. Lord Alphonse firmly refused. He told her that her concern for the people was a noble thing and that it was one of the things he truly liked about her. He held her close and said he did not want to put her in danger. He asked her not to go. Margaret stammered in surprise. Lord Alphonse squeezed her hand. Margaret agreed to do as His Highness said. Meanwhile, Garland and Wisteria were about to arrive in the Narge territory. Garland said they needed to see what the town looked like first. They arrived and were shocked. The town was in ruins with buildings crumbling and smoke rising. Wisteria questioned whether this was really Narge. She and Garland observed people sitting among the wreckage. Garland stated that no one could call this a proper rule. Wisteria noticed a girl sitting nearby and was startled by something. The girl's eyes caught her attention. Garland asked her what was wrong. Wisteria claimed it was nothing. She noticed that the girl's eyes had not a trace of emotion in them. Wisteria looked away before she knew it. Wisteria thought to herself that if they left things as they were, something terrible would happen. She felt she had to do something. Garland said that according to Magenta, there was a town hall in the center of town, and suggested they head there first. Garland noted the situation was worse than he had imagined and that the town was probably barely maintaining its function. A young man approached them and asked if they were knights from the capital. Garland confirmed they were. The young man was relieved and said that meant his brother had made it safely to the capital. Garland asked about his brother. The young man explained that he had been acting in his brother's place while he was gone. He told them that ever since the previous lord the people had been burdened with heavy taxes and had been living in misery working for almost nothing. Garland said that was very different from the report and asked if Lord Blanche was aware of the situation. The young man shouted that of course he was, and that Lord Blanche had never once failed to collect the money. Townspeople cried out asking what was going to happen to them. Garland told them not to worry and that they had come to understand what was really happening in Narge and to set it right. Wisteria asked if their father was the one who created this disaster. Garland declared that they intended to do everything in their power to rebuild Narge. The townspeople thanked him. Wisteria stepped forward and asked if there was anything she could do to help as well, telling them to let her know if they were lacking anything or needed something. She thought to herself that this was why she came here. The young man appreciated the offer but asked who she was. Wisteria introduced herself as Wisteria Nije Blanche, Lord Blanche's daughter. She offered her apologies in her father's stead for what had happened and promised to do everything to resolve the situation as quickly as possible. The townspeople were stunned that she was the Lord's daughter. The townspeople became angry. One shouted that she had to be kidding and demanded to know why she had not stopped this sooner. Another asked if she had come to laugh at them and told her not to mess with them. Garland told everyone to calm down. Wisteria accepted their anger, thinking to herself that the man was right and that saying she did not know anything was just an excuse. The fact was that they had been made to suffer. Something was thrown at Wisteria and she was hit. She collapsed to the ground. Garland called out her name in alarm. The young man from earlier also shouted to stop. Garland rushed to Wisteria's side and apologized, saying he should have been there for her. Wisteria told him she was fine and that she had just felt a little faint. A child nearby was being held back by someone and was yelling at Wisteria to go home and to let go of him. Wisteria recognized the child as the one she had seen from the carriage earlier. Garland told Wisteria they needed to tend to her injuries first. Wisteria protested, saying she had to face the townspeople properly. Garland told her now was not the time and asked her to take care of herself first. Wisteria agreed. She sighed. She had still not really talked with the townspeople since then. She wanted to at least help carry supplies, but the knights turned her down. She sat alone outside, feeling down. A carriage arrived and caught her attention. A girl with dark hair stepped out and greeted Wisteria, saying it was their first time speaking. She introduced herself as Margaret of the Viscount Charbon family. Wisteria recognized her as Lady Wisteria of House Blanche. Wisteria asked why Margaret was there. Margaret explained that she had happened to overhear His Highness and the knights talking about the people of Narge suffering, so she wanted to see if there was anything she could do to help. She admitted that His Highness had tried to stop her. Wisteria pointed out that Narge was Blanche's land and asked if Margaret really had any obligation to go that far. Margaret explained that as nobles, House Charbon was still fairly new, and that they were constantly unsure of what to do and just feeling their way through. She said she wanted to start by helping as many people as she could. She added that when you feel that way, things like territory or status did not matter. Wisteria was moved by her words. Wisteria told Margaret she was incredible. Margaret humbly said she still had a long way to go. Wisteria thought to herself that she finally understood why His Highness Alphonse was drawn to Margaret. She also realized she needed to learn a lot more about the country. Margaret cheerfully announced she would go start helping everyone right away. Wisteria was surprised. Wisteria decided she would start by doing what she could. She went to find Garland, who told her that her injuries would get worse and that she should be resting. Wisteria said she was fine and asked what he was doing. Garland explained he was drafting a new law, something the people would need so they could live in peace. Wisteria asked if there was any way she could help too. Garland said he appreciated the sentiment, but it was late and they could do it another day. Wisteria insisted, saying she wanted to be someone who could help everyone. Garland paused, then agreed. Wisteria worked alongside Garland and the townspeople, recovering the trust they had lost and helping to restore the people's quiet everyday lives, one piece at a time. That was all she could do for now. Garland watched Wisteria interacting with the townspeople. He thought about how he was the one who brought her here, and yet she ended up hurt. He had sworn he would protect her this time, and still she got hurt. He noticed the child from before approaching Wisteria along with other townspeople. Garland observed that even so, Wisteria was starting to move forward, little, by her own strength. He agreed that it should make him happy, and yet something bothered him. A knight informed Garland that it was about time they left. Garland acknowledged and said they would head out right away. He apologized to Wisteria, explaining that he had to depart for another mission. He promised to come back for her as soon as it was done. Wisteria quietly noted that he was really leaving. Wisteria told him not to apologize and that she should be the one apologizing for taking his time when he was so busy. Garland told her she would have to wait in Narge in the meantime. Wisteria acknowledged that this was something House Blanche should have taken care of themselves, and that the knights had basically stepped in and done it in their place. She thanked Garland. He was caught off guard. Wisteria explained that because Garland brought her to Narge, she was able to face the things she had been refusing to face and got to connect with the people of Narge. Townspeople called out to her in the background. Garland told her that she was the one who earned their trust and that it was her own strength, no one else's. Wisteria said she still wanted to say thank you. Wisteria told Garland that because of him, she was able to make things right. They held hands. Garland looked at her. Wisteria said that from now on, her strength would be his, and she asked that they move forward together. Garland was surprised. Wisteria's heart raced as she looked at him. He kissed her hand. Garland said he would get going then. He smiled and walked away. Wisteria watched him leave silently. Wisteria watched the carriage depart. She softly said Garland's name. Her heart was beating. She stood still, then touched the hand he had kissed. Some townspeople who had been watching commented that the knight commander actually had a surprisingly dramatic side. Margaret appeared, and Wisteria noticed her. She asked Margaret why she was hiding back there. Margaret said she thought she might interrupt. Wisteria asked what she meant by interrupt. Margaret explained that she had been thinking it was about time she returned to her own domain as well. Wisteria was confused. Margaret thanked Wisteria for everything, saying she had really helped her. Wisteria told her it was nothing. Margaret said she would love to talk with Wisteria more and asked to invite her to tea sometime soon. Wisteria agreed. Some children approached Wisteria with a book, saying a knight had given it to them and asking what to do with it. Wisteria confirmed it was a book. The children did not know what a book was. Wisteria explained that when you opened it, there were words and pictures inside. She thought to herself that a wave of feelings she did not recognize was crashing over her all at once. Wisteria recalled that back when she was young, she used to read all sorts of books with Garland too. She explained to the children that books contain stories or history, and that you read them to study. The children asked what study meant. Wisteria told them it meant learning new things. The children asked what the purpose of that was, which surprised Wisteria. Someone called for the children to come work, warning them there would be no snacks if they did not. One child asked about philosophy, which confused Wisteria. She realized that the oppressive policies in the town had even robbed the children of the chance to get an education. Wisteria thought that from now on she needed to think more about how to enrich people's lives. She acknowledged there was a limit to what she could do on her own. She wondered if she could convince her father, but decided that was probably the hardest part. She considered that if she could get it recognized as a royal assignment like this time, maybe she could get help from others as well. The townspeople approached Wisteria and thanked her for all her hard work. They told her that if there was anything they could do, she should just say the word. Wisteria told them she had a favor to ask. She asked if they could take her to the capital. The townspeople were surprised. Wisteria explained that she wanted to speak with His Highness Alphonse about the future of her domain, including Narge. She said that since His Highness was the one who approved this mission, she was hoping he would understand. She added that she would of course follow the formal process. The townspeople agreed. Wisteria was told to wait for His Highness Alphonse and shown to a room at the capital. She was nervous. She told herself she had to explain this properly. His Highness had gone out of his way to hear her out, and it was about her own domain. Lord Alphonse entered the room and said he never thought she would actually come in person. He addressed her as Wisteria. She greeted him and thanked him for taking time out of his busy schedule. Lord Alphonse mentioned that he had heard about her work in Narge from Garland. He then asked what brought this change of heart and whether this was her doing what she did best, sucking up to the royal family. Wisteria was startled and denied it. She thought to herself that His Highness clearly did not think highly of her. She told herself she could not let that make her falter. She explained that the reason she asked for this audience was because she wanted to discuss Narge's future with him. Wisteria told Lord Alphonse that thanks to the knights, housing and famine were slowly improving, but full recovery would still take some time. She said that in her father's place, she wanted to help the people return to their peaceful, prosperous lives. Lord Alphonse asked if she was saying she was different from her father and told her she would not fool his eyes. Lord Alphonse accused her, saying this was all just a way to buy time so her father could escape. Wisteria was confused and asked him to wait, saying she did not understand what he meant. Lord Alphonse told her not to play dumb and that she was the one who knew it best. He said he had found it strange that the Duke's daughter, the one who let all those abuses happen, would volunteer to investigate Narge. He revealed that Duke Blanche was currently in hiding. Wisteria was shocked to learn that her father was missing. Lord Alphonse addressed her by her full name, Wisteria Neige Blanche, and declared that she was placed under arrest on suspicion of aiding Duke Blanche, a traitor to the crown. Lord Alphonse ordered the guards to arrest her. Wisteria begged him to listen. The guards seized her. Lord Alphonse told them the decision on her punishment would come later, and ordered them to take her away. The guards led Wisteria away. She thought that she could not believe this was happening, that she had finally thought she had a chance to start over. Wisteria was taken to a cell. She sat alone and asked herself why this was happening, what she did wrong, and what she was supposed to do. She wondered if she was becoming a bad person all over again. A knight called out to Garland, telling him they should call off the search for today. He pointed out that Garland had not rested once since returning from Narge and suggested he go home for now. Garland refused. He said that Lady Wisteria had been taken into custody and that he wanted to prove her innocence as quickly as possible. The knight pointed out that Wisteria had helped with Narge's reconstruction and asked if it was not only natural to think she was innocent. Garland said no. He explained that it was not just His Highness, the royal family valued bloodlines. Even their daughter, Lady Wisteria, could be harshly punished. He said that punishing her just because she was related by blood would be cruel. He stated that she was not that kind of person. He said he wanted to protect her. Garland admitted that as a knight serving His Highness, that may make him unfit. The knight quickly denied it and told Garland he cared about Lady Wisteria deeply. Garland confirmed he did, very much. He thought to himself that Wisteria was the one who changed his life. Garland recalled his past. As a young boy, he attended a noble gathering. People noticed him and asked if that was the knight commander's son, wondering what he was doing at such a gathering. They speculated that maybe his mother was from some fallen noble family and mocked the knight commander's judgment. Garland noted that this sort of thing had happened many times. He hated other people. Everyone looked at people by their bloodline. They all talked badly about his father and mother. The young Garland told his father he was going home first. His father asked why. Garland explained that if he stayed, people would just keep badmouthing his father. His father told him that Duke Blanche had specifically asked to meet him. Garland doubted the Duke was any better. His father scolded him for his twisted attitude. Garland laughed and said he could see he was being thoroughly underestimated. They met the head of the house, Argent, who thanked them for coming and addressed him as Duke Turquoise. Argent greeted Garland as well. Garland was nervous and introduced himself. Argent noted Garland was a bit older than his granddaughter and said it was perfect, then called someone over to introduce them. Turquoise called out Wisteria's name. A young girl appeared. Some women nearby complimented her, saying what a fine young lady she had become, as expected of a duke's daughter. The young Wisteria excused herself, saying her grandfather was calling. The women then warned her that it would be best not to associate too closely with the knight commander's son, calling him someone with tainted blood and saying it would only stain her own purity. Garland overheard and thought she would probably think the same of him. But Wisteria turned and confronted the women, asking why they would say something like that. Garland was stunned. Wisteria ran up to Garland and asked his name. He answered that he was from House Turquoise. Wisteria corrected him, saying she did not mean his family's name but his own. He told her his name was Garland. She grinned. Wisteria asked Garland if he would be her friend. Garland recalled that for someone as self-deprecating as he was, Wisteria had reached out her hand. She asked if he was going to be a knight. Garland said his family had been knights for generations, but he wanted to be one regardless of family. Wisteria asked if there was another reason. Garland said it was a secret. When Wisteria pressed him, he told her he would tell her someday. Back in the present, a knight asked Garland if something was wrong. Garland said no and claimed he was fine. The knight noted he was exhausted from working non-stop. Garland clenched his fist and told Magenta to keep searching the area while he checked the neighboring town. Magenta told him to at least take a carriage. Garland thought to himself that he would save Wisteria the way she had saved him back then. Wisteria was brought before a court. The verdict was announced regarding Wisteria Neige Blanche. All noble titles were to be stripped, and she was to be banished from the country. Lord Alphonse declared the sentence would be carried out in 3 days' time. Wisteria said no and begged him to wait, asking him to just hear her out one more. Lord Alphonse told her he had no intention of exchanging words with her. He said that no matter how pretty her words were, all he saw was her father's loyal pawn. He added that if he let a traitor's blood relative go, the same thing would happen again. He told her she ought to be executed, strictly speaking, and that she should be grateful she got to keep her life at all. The day of Wisteria's exile arrived. She was told that as of today she was forbidden from ever setting foot in the kingdom again. Wisteria stood silently. She told herself that originally she was supposed to be executed, and compared to that, this was nothing. She said that as long as she was alive she could find a way to live. She decided that from now on everything that had happened so far she would just pretend it never happened from the start. And yet she wondered why the uneasiness in her chest would not go away. Wisteria thought of Garland and how he had told her he would do everything he could so that he could keep being her strength. That was what he had said to her. But once she left the country they would never see each other again. Her chest hurt. She asked herself what she should do but realized she had no more options left. A guard ordered them to move out. Lord Alphonse appeared and told the knights to wait. He announced that the knights would continue the search of Lord Blanche's lands. Wisteria was confused and asked why he was there. Lord Alphonse addressed her directly. Garland then appeared, carrying a man. Wisteria was shocked and wondered what Garland was doing there. The man Garland was carrying shouted at him to let go, calling him an oaf. Wisteria recognized the man and cried out for her father. Garland told the man to watch his tongue as he stood before His Highness Alphonse. He declared that this was someone's plot. He explained that Lord Blanche had been hidden by several powerful people, all close to the Chancellor, and that it seemed they had been coordinating their stories. Lord Alphonse ordered Garland to explain. Garland continued, saying that according to the servants' testimonies, Lord Blanche had abused Lady Wisteria for years. They had confirmed he beat her, locked her in the cellar, and never allowed her to go out freely. Garland confronted Duke Blanche directly about this. Garland then asked Lord Alphonse if he could have Lady Wisteria brought over. Lord Alphonse told him to do as he pleased. Wisteria was brought to Garland. He called her name and apologized for the delay. Lord Alphonse, out of breath, announced that Wisteria's exile would be revoked. He said the suspicion on her had been cleared. He told Garland he left the rest to him. Garland understood. Lord Alphonse commented that Wisteria was a troublesome one. Wisteria told him that was understandable and asked him not to let it weigh on him. She told Garland that he saved her again. Garland told Wisteria he had not anticipated she would return to the capital on her own. Wisteria apologized. Garland said it must have been hard. Wisteria asked if he did it because he was thinking of the people. Garland said this was nothing, then admitted that was what he would like to say to sound cool. He said that the real reason was because it was Wisteria. He told her he was glad and that this time he really was able to protect her. Garland asked Wisteria if she was really going to see her father. Wisteria confirmed she was. Garland said he was personally firmly against it. Wisteria said there was something she had to tell her father. She took a deep breath and walked toward the cell where her father was being held. She called out his name. Wisteria arrived at the prison where her father was being held. He grabbed the bars of his cell and called out to her, asking if she had come to save him. Her father told her of course she had, calling her his daughter. He shouted that he would not tolerate being locked up in a filthy place like this and demanded she let him out quickly, insisting he had done nothing wrong. Wisteria did not move to free him. She told him no, he still did not understand anything. She thought of everything he had ever done, everything he had taken from people. She told him he had harmed the very people he was meant to protect, and that there was no forgiving that. Her father was caught off guard. Wisteria told him that if he refused to see what he had done, that was all the more reason to sit where he was and face his own crimes. She turned and began walking away, telling him she had come to say goodbye. She said goodbye to her father and left. Her father laughed and shouted after her, calling her a useless little girl who could do nothing without his orders. He declared that without him, the Blanche family was finished. He told her to suffer as much as she liked and that she would never live the way she once did. Wisteria walked away, telling herself not to let him get to her. She thought to herself that she had escaped exile, but her title as Duke's daughter was gone. The royal family would not leave her even a single coin, and she had no home to return to. She wondered who would even take in the daughter of a traitor. She needed to prepare for what came next. A man called out to welcome her back. It was Garland, who had been waiting for her. Wisteria said his name, startled to see him. Garland asked if she was all right and whether she had been waiting. A young woman who had also been waiting said she was worried and that all of this must have worn Wisteria down. Wisteria said she was fine. Garland asked with a humph whether Lord Blanche had said something to her. Wisteria admitted he did say things but added it was nothing worth mentioning. She told them she was just a little uneasy thinking about what came next. Garland asked what she meant. Wisteria explained that the royal family had seized all of her family's assets. She had been thinking about what to do and said she planned to go to a church and become a nun. Garland's expression changed sharply at those words. Wisteria explained that while her father would be punished for his deeds, that did not erase what the Blanche family had done to all those people. She wanted to spend the rest of her life at the church, helping those in need and atoning for those sins. She asked if it was not a bad idea. Garland said flatly that he was against it. Wisteria was confused and asked why. Garland stepped toward her and took hold of her shoulders, asking why she had to go that far. He told her that she had worked so hard for the people of Narge because she wanted to help them properly as their noble. He asked Wisteria why she should carry a guilt that was not even hers and what would become of the Blanche household without her. Wisteria began to respond but trailed off. Garland pulled her into an embrace, telling her it was enough and that she had suffered more than enough. He told her that from now on she was allowed to do things that made her happy. Wisteria pulled back and asked why he was so strongly against it. She thought to herself that the Garland she knew would have thought it through and smiled and told her he was rooting for her. She looked up at him with wide eyes. Garland suddenly went still and his body swayed. Wisteria noticed he was burning up and said she had to get him somewhere fast. Another knight rushed in and cried out that the commander had collapsed. Wisteria called for someone to help. The knight told Wisteria that Garland had collapsed and had a fever and said they should take him home right away. He said he would get a doctor. Wisteria held Garland and called his name, thinking he looked like he was in so much pain. Another knight informed Wisteria that the doctor said it was exhaustion. He explained that ever since Garland came back from Narge he had thrown himself straight into searching for Lord Blanche without rest, and that working without stopping had finally caught up with him. Wisteria thought to herself that she had pushed Garland too far and that it was all her fault. She said to herself that since time had rewound he had done nothing but save her and she did not want to be a burden to him anymore. Garland's mother knocked and asked to come in. Wisteria said yes. His mother entered, apologized for keeping her waiting, and thanked Wisteria for staying by Garland's side all that time. She introduced herself as Garland's mother, Mimosa. Wisteria noted to herself that this was the first time they had met. She asked Lady Mimosa how the commander was. Mimosa replied that he would be fine and that her boy was stronger than he looked. Mimosa said Garland had settled down and told Wisteria to go let him see her face. Another knight said she needed to report back to the order and told Wisteria to please take her time. Wisteria's heart beat faster. Mimosa called out to Garland that she was coming in and opened the door. Wisteria called his name softly. Garland was sitting up in bed. Wisteria told him he did not have to sit up and asked if he was still not feeling well. Garland said he was feeling much better and apologized for the trouble. Wisteria told him not to say that, insisting it all started because of her. Garland said he had also stuck his nose too far into her future. Garland told Wisteria that her wanting to become a nun was a decision born of her own pride and convictions, and that he had spoken as though rejecting it outright. He asked if he could ask why she was so strongly against his reaction. Wisteria said it was all right. Garland confirmed that becoming a nun meant giving one's whole life to God. He said that if he let her do that, he would no longer be able to touch her like this, and reached out and pulled her close. Wisteria cried out his name in surprise. Garland said he would not be able to touch her and that he was just afraid of losing her. Wisteria found herself in his arms, stunned. He told her he wanted her to stay by his side, that was all. Wisteria thought that she did not have anywhere else to go anyway, and then the thought hit her. Garland told her to come live with him at his house. Wisteria stared wide-eyed. He admitted it was selfish of him to ask, but asked if she would at least think about it. Wisteria thought to herself that he wanted to be with her that badly and wondered whether she was really allowed to be happy about that and whether she could really take his hand. Mimosa appeared at the door with a warm smile and said she would be delighted if Wisteria would. Garland looked at his mother. Mimosa pointed out that Wisteria had been planning to go to the church, then mentioned that she already provided food to the church on a regular basis, growing vegetables and baking sweets, but that there was more work than she could do on her own and she would be very glad to have Wisteria's help. She asked if it was not a bad deal. Garland watched quietly with a small smile. Wisteria bowed her head and thanked them for taking her in. The scene shifted to a carriage traveling through the capital city at night. Two figures rode inside the carriage. One noted that it had been a while since the other had come to the capital. The other, a young man with short dark hair and formal military attire, confirmed that his appointment had come on Prince Alphonse's personal recommendation. The first person told him that he had trained without fail every day and that it was only natural he was chosen. The young man thought to himself that sooner or later he would make them see that Garland was not worthy of leading the kingdom's knights and stated that role belonged only to him. Wisteria woke up in a bright room and reminded herself that she was at Garland's house. A maid greeted her and introduced herself as Cyan, saying she had been assigned as Wisteria's personal attendant starting that day. Wisteria was caught off guard and said that was too much, and that being allowed to stay there was already more than enough. Cyan cheerfully told her that Garland had said Wisteria was family, and insisted on taking care of her, then announced it was time to get her ready. Wisteria thought to herself that while Garland and Lady Mimosa had welcomed her so warmly, she could not keep depending on them forever. Cyan told her that Garland was waiting and offered to show her the way. Wisteria thanked her. Wisteria thought she needed to find something she could actually do to repay what she owed Garland as soon as possible. Wisteria entered the room where Garland was sitting and reading. She nervously said good morning. Garland greeted her and asked if she was sure she should be up already. She asked him the same and he apologized for worrying her, saying he was fine. He mentioned that the prince had ordered him to rest for the day and that a knight named Magenta must have reported his collapse. Wisteria agreed with a laugh that he should rest longer than just one day. Garland called that harsh. Wisteria told Garland she hoped he was not pushing himself and said that even if she could not help with the knight's work, there had to be something she could do to repay him. She told him she wanted to help him somehow. Garland said she really did not need to worry about that. Wisteria said firmly that she did not want to keep accepting without giving anything back. Garland looked thoughtful and said even so, then said all right. He told her that in that case he had one request. Garland told Wisteria he wanted to talk with her more like they used to. He asked if she would do that for him. Wisteria asked if that was all he wanted. Garland told her it was important to him and asked if she would. Wisteria said okay and promised to do her best. Garland said he would make sure to come home every day from then on. Mimosa appeared and called out to Wisteria, asking if she had a moment. She mentioned she was thinking of baking sweets for the church and asked if Wisteria would help. Wisteria said yes with enthusiasm. Garland told his mother thank you and said he would take it easy that day too. Mimosa told him to see to it and left. Garland noted to himself that it had been so long since he had a day off that he barely knew what to do with himself. A servant came to tell him he had a visitor. Garland was puzzled since he did not remember anyone saying they would come by. He went to receive the visitor and apologized for making them wait, asking what brought them. In the kitchen, Wisteria's first baking attempt produced a badly burnt result. She apologized to Mimosa. Mimosa told her it was only her first time and that it did not taste bad, and noted they already had enough to bring to the church. Wisteria was still bothered that she had wasted ingredients. Mimosa suggested whipping the leftover cream and sugar together to get it nice and fluffy, then sandwiching it with some fruit. Wisteria looked at the finished result and said it looked completely different now. Mimosa said they should bring some to Garland later too, and Wisteria agreed, wondering with a small smile what he would say when he saw it. A clanging sound came from outside. Mimosa and Wisteria both heard it and wondered where it was coming from. Wisteria went to check and saw Garland outside fighting with someone. She shouted for them to stop and ran out. Garland and the dark-haired young man who had arrived in the capital by carriage were sparring with wooden swords outside. Garland had knocked the other man down. Garland told him there was no need to be so frustrated and that he had improved a lot since last time. The man cursed and got up, telling Garland to shut up and that it did not matter unless he beat him. He shouted that he had trained and trained for that one goal. Garland said he was honored to hear that and told him that in that case he would give everything he had too. The man said fine, to be ready, and that he had not been at his best just now. The man shouted that he would win and prove that he was the one worthy of being knight commander. Wisteria stepped between them and shouted for them to stop. Garland caught her and pulled her back, telling her it was dangerous and she could not just jump in like that. The other man demanded to know what was going on. Wisteria told him she thought she had to help since Garland was being attacked. Garland told her it was not like that and that the other man was not a bandit. The man demanded to know what she was calling him. Garland explained to Wisteria that he was his cousin, Klein Anise Toulouse. Klein asked Wisteria directly if she was the Duke of Blanche's daughter and wanted to know why she was there since he had heard her house was disbanded. Wisteria said she was staying there because of their kindness and apologized if it caused any trouble for House Toulouse. Klein said no, it was not his place to say anything. Garland asked Klein what brought him there, saying he still had not heard the reason for his visit. Klein explained that he was transferring to the academy in the capital that year, and that it was easier to commute from the main house than from his own lands. He asked to stay for a while. Garland said of course he was always welcome. Mimosa agreed warmly. Garland commented that Klein was always diligent with his studies. Klein replied it was nothing special these days and that nobles were expected to attend at the very least. Wisteria was surprised, having never even thought about going to school herself. Garland confirmed he had attended too. Klein asked what Garland had studied there, and Garland replied that it was politics, geography, history, agriculture, various crafts, and etiquette, pretty much all the knowledge expected of someone governing. Klein noted that if those in power used what they learned correctly, their people could live in peace, and said he found that valuable. Garland agreed, saying it was not just about Narge or his own lands, but that it meant learning how to make the whole country prosper. Wisteria wondered to herself whether someone like her would even be allowed there. Garland asked if she was interested and offered to take her to have a look, saying he was planning to visit the headmaster anyway and she could come along if she wanted. Wisteria said she wanted to see it. Garland, Wisteria, and Klein arrived at the academy. Wisteria was struck by the sight of the large building and its students. She said it was incredible to see so many people gathered with the same purpose and asked if everyone there was studying for the kingdom and its people. She said she wanted to study there too. Garland told her not to get too excited or she would get lost. Wisteria apologized and still looked around with wide eyes. Klein said he had wanted to see his old school again. Students in the hallway noticed the three of them and began whispering. Some recognized Garland as the knight commander and Klein as his cousin. Others noticed Wisteria and began talking about why the daughter of House Blanche was there, calling her a criminal's daughter and wondering if she was seriously thinking of enrolling. Some said it was frightening. Klein watched them with a quiet expression and remarked it was a bunch of gossip. Wisteria heard every word and thought to herself that they were not wrong and that the reaction was only natural, but it still stung to hear it said out loud. Garland pulled Wisteria close and told her she did not need to listen to that kind of garbage. Wisteria was startled. Garland turned toward the students with a level expression and told Wisteria she did not have to worry about him. The students went quiet and flustered. Klein watched and thought to himself that it must be what they call karma. Elsewhere at the academy, a girl with wavy hair sat in a tea room with another student. When she heard that Garland had been at the academy, she reacted sharply and demanded to know why she had not been told. A flustered attendant said he had been escorting a relative. The girl smiled and told herself that the fact he had come to the academy at all only proved he would be coming for her soon. She thought to herself that Sir Garland was her destined partner. Garland told Wisteria to get ready to get off as they would be arriving soon. Wisteria agreed. She thanked Garland for getting her into the academy. Garland said that if he helped, that was all that mattered. He then asked why she had asked for the commoners class, pointing out that with House Turquoise backing her, she could have gotten into the nobles class. Wisteria explained that if someone with her reputation showed up in the nobles class, it would probably cause trouble. She said she was grateful enough just being allowed to attend. Garland accepted her answer, saying that if that was really what she wanted, it was fine. Wisteria wanted to learn about the country and about the way for people to live happy lives. She wanted to learn everything she never knew. Wisteria told Garland she was off and wished him good luck at work. Garland told her to take care and said he would come pick her up later. A girl with curly hair suddenly ran up and crashed into Garland, calling out to him. Wisteria reacted with surprise. Garland clicked his tongue in annoyance. The girl who had bumped into him fell to the ground. The girl said that he had finally come to get her. Garland excused himself and walked away with the girl. The girl was shocked and called after him. Garland looked back at her with a sharp expression. Garland asked Wisteria if she was okay. Wisteria, along with another girl and a boy named Klein, were on the ground. Wisteria said she was fine and thanked him, but then noticed that her brooch had fallen. Garland picked up the brooch and saw that the clasp had broken. He mentioned that she had had it for so long, so he was not surprised. Wisteria asked if it was not important to him and whether he was sure. Garland said it was not much but told her to use it for now, offering her a replacement. Garland suggested that they go buy something that really suited her. He asked her to hold on to the broken brooch for him until then. Wisteria was surprised. Garland told her it was a promise. Wisteria agreed. Klein called out to him and told him they were leaving. Garland said he was leaving Wisteria in Klein's care. Klein asked why it had to be him. Garland said it was because he trusted Klein would do his duty as a knight. Klein clicked his tongue in annoyance. Garland walked away, and Wisteria watched him go. He thought to himself that the name Geranium was familiar, and recalled that she was the young lady of House Alazarin. Inside the academy, a girl called out to Wisteria. It was Margaret, who was also a student there. Margaret was excited that she had run into Wisteria and said she never expected to see her there. Wisteria confirmed that they were not in the same class. Margaret said they could still see each other during joint lectures and lunch, and suggested they eat together. Klein observed them getting along and thought they seemed to be doing just fine. Margaret chatted happily with Wisteria. They walked together through the Grand Academy building. Wisteria was amazed by school and thought that she never knew studying could be this fun. A girl approached her and said that Lady Geranium wanted to see her. Wisteria was confused. She went to meet Geranium and asked if she needed something. Wisteria recalled that House Alizarin was one of the great houses close to the crown. She told the other girls she would be fine on her own. Geranium introduced herself as Geranium, heir to Duke Alizarin. She wanted to apologize for being rude that morning, saying she had bumped into Wisteria but never said sorry. She asked if Wisteria had been hurt. Geranium offered to treat Wisteria to tea as an apology. Wisteria told her not to worry about it and that she was perfectly fine. Geranium insisted, saying she would not feel right leaving it at that. Wisteria asked if she was sure, and Geranium said to think of it as friendship. Wisteria accepted, noting that there was still time before she was supposed to meet Garland. Geranium served tea and told Wisteria to help herself. Wisteria drank it and said it was delicious. Geranium was glad and mentioned it was a top-grade import from a neighboring country. Wisteria noticed something as she sipped the tea. Geranium then said she had something she had been wanting to ask Wisteria. Geranium asked what exactly the relationship between Wisteria and Lord Garland was. Wisteria was caught off guard. Geranium pressed her eagerly, asking if they had been together that morning and saying she was very curious. Wisteria felt a strange pressure from Geranium. Wisteria answered that they were childhood friends and that they used to play together all the time. Geranium said she understood. But then Geranium leaned in close and told Wisteria that she had been much closer to Garland than that. Wisteria was confused by what Geranium meant. Suddenly Wisteria's head started hurting. Something struck her on the head. Wisteria collapsed. Geranium pushed Wisteria to the floor and snatched Garland's brooch from her. She declared that she had taken it back. She held the brooch up and called it beautiful, admiring it. Wisteria woke up in a dark room. She wondered where she was and realized she had fallen asleep. She found that her arms would not move and that she was tied up. She demanded to know what had happened. A voice told her she was awake. A group of students stood around Wisteria. They told her that they had been told they could do whatever they wanted with her. Wisteria stared in shock as they asked what they should play. Garland arrived at the academy in his carriage. He told his driver to wait for a bit. Geranium was standing at the gates and greeted him warmly, saying what a joy it was to see him again. Geranium shyly asked if he would like to dine at her estate since they had run into each other again. Garland declined, saying he was sorry but he had something important to do. Geranium guessed it was something regarding Lady Wisteria and noted that she was well informed since they had been together that morning and had spoken again at the academy. As a classmate, she said she thought she should step in. Geranium told Garland that Wisteria was always batting her eyes at all sorts of guys and keeping them around. She said Wisteria's shameless behavior was just as loose with men as her father had been. She added that she just could not stand to watch. Garland asked why she had his brooch. Geranium said that was when the brooch had been thrown at her. She claimed Wisteria had thrown it right at her face, saying she did not need something like that. Geranium concluded that Wisteria surely had no intention of keeping her appointment with Garland either. Wisteria came running up, apologizing for being late. She noticed they were past the agreed time. Garland called out to her. Geranium was stunned, unable to understand what was happening since she had given the order to hold Wisteria. Garland told Wisteria not to panic and reminded her they had made a promise. He noticed her uniform was dirty and asked about it. Wisteria said it was nothing serious. Garland asked about the underground storeroom. Wisteria explained that a rat had gotten into the underground storeroom. She said she had found the rat and used something to cut herself free but had left the brooch behind, assuring him it would be fine. She said everyone had panicked, which was why she had ended up a little late. Garland said he understood. He told her he had been worried something had happened to her. Wisteria apologized for worrying him and said she was fine. Garland noted the sun was going down and extended his hand to her, saying they should go. Geranium watched and called out to Garland. Garland noticed Geranium was still there and asked if she was. The carriage pulled away. Geranium realized that Wisteria must have Garland completely under a spell and that he was being deceived. She thought it was pitiful. She vowed to rescue Garland from that woman even if it was the last thing she did. She told herself to just wait for her. Lord Garland. Wisteria and Garland sat together in the carriage, with Wisteria giggling happily. Wisteria and Garland went shopping together. Garland suggested a shop that he heard was popular with young ladies. Wisteria noticed a piece of jewelry that caught her eye. Wisteria thought everything was pretty and that it was hard to pick just one. She saw the prices and realized how expensive the jewelry was. She thought to herself that she did not want to burden House Toulouse any more than she already had. She told Garland that on second thought she would pass. Garland told her she did not need to hold back. Wisteria insisted she was not holding back and that she just did not think she needed something new. She said it would be wasteful to throw the old brooch out just because the clasp was broken, and asked if there was any way to fix it. Garland thought about it and said there was a blacksmith he knew not far from there who handled his weapon and armor repairs. Wisteria was surprised it was a blacksmith. Garland asked if she wanted him to take her there. Wisteria said she did not mind. He warned her it was on the outskirts, so it would be a bit of a walk. He told her that if there was anywhere else she wanted to go, she should just tell him. He added that it was fine and that he had been wanting to explore the city anyway. Wisteria tried to decline, saying she could not impose. Wisteria asked Garland if there was somewhere he wanted to go, pointing out that he had only been worrying about her the whole time. Garland whispered something and then said it was nothing. Wisteria repeated his question about somewhere she wanted to go. Garland confirmed. Garland thought to himself that Wisteria was the one who kept holding back with him. Garland wished she would lean on him a little more. A group of knights suddenly called out to him, addressing him as captain. They said they had heard he had the afternoon off and that he had come to the city. Garland noticed they were on patrol and asked about it. They confirmed that everything was fine with no problems to report. The knights asked Garland to train them with the spear next time. He agreed but warned them to brace themselves because he would not go easy on them. Wisteria watched Garland laughing with his knights and thought he looked like he was having fun. She found it nice to see him like that. She noticed that the knights really looked up to him. One of the knights asked if the lady with Garland was perhaps Lady Wisteria from House Blanche. The knights got excited, calling her the captain's childhood friend. They said it was an honor to meet her. They told Wisteria that she was the one their captain had been willing to risk his life to save, and that she must be someone very special to him. Wisteria was caught off guard. Garland reminded the knights that they were on duty, and told them that if they had that much energy for idle chatter, he could always assign extra training. The knights quickly apologized and said they would be going. Garland sighed and said they talked too much. He apologized to Wisteria for the commotion and said he would talk to them later. Wisteria said it was all right. She thought about what the knights had said about her being special to the captain, and wondered if they were not just childhood friends. Wisteria recalled Geranium claiming to be much closer to the captain than Wisteria was. She thought about how they had been having tea together, but then she had somehow woken up in the underground storeroom instead. She found there was so much she did not understand about the relationship between Garland and Geranium. Garland pointed out a shop. They arrived at the blacksmith. The blacksmith examined the brooch and said it would be difficult to fix. He explained that the base was made from a metal that was no longer in circulation. The stone itself was also pretty soft, so if he messed with it, it might just break. He said it was impressive that it had even lasted as long as it had. Wisteria understood. The blacksmith apologized for not being able to help. Wisteria told him it was really fine. Garland said it was getting late and that they should head back. Wisteria thanked him for the day. Wisteria remembered that she needed to give Garland's brooch back. She reached for it but realized it was gone. She panicked and told Garland that she had lost his brooch. Garland told her to calm down first. He thought to himself that Wisteria had no idea where the brooch had ended up, and that woman had made things troublesome. He thought that if any more harm came to Wisteria, he would need to act. Wisteria apologized, saying he had trusted her with something precious. Wisteria was in tears, saying she was so sorry and that she would go look for it right now. Garland grabbed her hand and told her to please wait. He told her it was all right. Wisteria protested, but Garland said that his brooch was sure to have been just as worn and fragile as hers. Wisteria asked if he really meant that. Garland added that besides, if she went home like this, he would be the one in trouble. Garland told Wisteria that he wanted to spend a little more time together with her. Wisteria recalled that ever since Garland had left Narge, sometimes her face would feel hot and it would get hard to breathe, and now it was happening again. Garland apologized, saying he did not mean to stop her in her tracks like that. He asked if they should get going. Wisteria thought that Garland was really strange. She felt at ease when she was beside him, but sometimes her heart just would not settle down. Klein was waiting at the Toulouse estate. He told Garland he was late. Garland apologized for keeping him waiting and said training had just run late. Klein asked if he had eaten. Garland said not yet. Klein's aunt greeted them, saying she was about to start dinner without them. Klein exclaimed that working out made him hungry. His aunt said it was perfect timing. She mentioned that she was going to eat first, but Klein had said they should wait. She called Klein a sweet child. Klein protested, saying it was a misunderstanding. Wisteria wrote in her diary that so much had happened on her very first day of school. She thought that having a home to come back to was something she never knew could feel this nice. Garland patted her on the head and she told him not to laugh. Garland knocked on Wisteria's door and asked if she had a moment. Wisteria opened the door and asked what was wrong. Garland apologized for bothering her when she was tired but said he wanted to give her something before she went to bed. He told her to open it. Inside was a beautiful new brooch. Wisteria said it was beautiful. She asked in shock if it was for her. Garland confirmed. Wisteria said she could not accept something like that, explaining that he was already letting her attend the academy and now such an expensive gift on top of that. Garland asked if it was a nuisance. Wisteria quickly said no, that was not it. Wisteria explained that Garland was always the one helping her, and she had never been able to repay him. She said she did not want to just keep leaning on his kindness. Garland understood that was why she had kept holding herself back, even in town. He told her there was another reason he had bought the brooch. He showed her that it split in two. He said it was a clever design and that he had had it made in secret. He admitted it was a little embarrassing, but he had wanted them to wear matching pieces. Garland asked Wisteria if she would grant him that selfish wish and wear it too. Wisteria wanted to answer Garland's feelings. She said that she herself would gladly accept, but more than that she thought about how his smile was brighter than the one she had seen that day in Narge. It was so clear and beautiful. Garland said he would let her rest and wished her good night. Wisteria smiled back at him. Garland thought to himself that it was still not enough. He wanted to see that smile again, over and over. He thought that he really was greedy. Margaret asked Wisteria how she was doing and how her classes were. Wisteria said she was doing well and that classes were fun. Margaret called her a good student. Wisteria said that was a pretty normal thing. Margaret noticed Wisteria's brooch and said it was beautiful, asking where she got it. Wisteria said Garland gave it to her and added that he had the other pair. Margaret was surprised. She said she had had this thought for a while but that the captain really spoiled Wisteria. Wisteria was shocked by this. Margaret asked if she had not realized it. Wisteria said that since Garland was nice to everyone she thought of it as not that big of a deal. Margaret questioned whether that was really true, pointing out that the other ladies would always say the captain was scary. Someone called out to Margaret. Alphonse appeared. Margaret explained that she was just having lunch with Lady Wisteria, and that Alphonse had come looking for her because she was not in class. Wisteria thought to herself that even if her dad's charges had been cleared, the prince was surely not happy to see her attending the school. Alphonse addressed Wisteria directly, telling her that with her situation he was sure it was tough but to hang in there. He told Margaret to come along. Margaret said goodbye to Wisteria and told her to try and open up. Wisteria waved goodbye. She wondered if that had been the prince's way of showing his worry over her. Wisteria thought she had believed the prince hated her. She resolved to work harder so she could earn people's real respect someday. She noticed other students murmuring and whispering around her. She could feel their eyes on her. Some girls asked Geranium if she was okay because she looked pale. Geranium said she was fine. The girls told her they had seen her with Captain Garland the other day and asked if something had happened between them. Geranium flinched and told them to forget she ever said anything. She said they kept talking to her like they knew her and that they had no idea how much she was suffering. She overheard the girls gossiping that Wisteria was the daughter of the infamous Duke Blanche, and that if they dug just a little they were bound to find dirt on her. Geranium latched onto this idea. She was still fixated on Wisteria hovering around Garland and thought there had to be a way to get rid of her. Every second she wasted, Wisteria was sinking her claws deeper into the captain. Geranium told the two girls that there was something she really needed to know and asked if they would help her. The girls eagerly agreed. Klein noticed Geranium's followers gossiping but thought that even though Garland had warned him to watch out for that woman, he wondered if he really needed to take it that seriously. Wisteria finished class early and thought about stopping by the library. Some girls called out to her. She could feel their stares. She overheard them saying she was apparently glued to the captain these days. One of them said she had even seen them together. They called her shameless and said they remembered how she used to throw herself at His Highness Alphonse all the time. Wisteria admitted to herself that it was true. Before time rewound, her father had told her she had to become the prince's bride, that a marriage between their houses would benefit the kingdom. She used to just follow her dad's orders and was obsessed with catching the prince's attention. She had asked the prince to take her as his wife. Looking back, she was sorry for being such a pest. She had been shamelessly chasing power. Geranium appeared on the stairs and told Wisteria it seemed she had become quite the hot topic at school. Wisteria was surprised. Geranium greeted her, saying it had been a while. Geranium called Wisteria a shameless little flirt, saying she was not satisfied with His Highness and was now aiming for Garland too. She accused Wisteria of taking advantage of the captain's kindness only to stab him in the back when the time was ripe. Wisteria tried to say she would never do such a thing. Geranium cut her off and said that was enough. She told Wisteria bluntly to stay away from Garland from now on. She said it was just too cruel to the captain, letting some shameless woman like Wisteria string him along. She demanded Wisteria say it right there and then. Wisteria refused. She told Geranium no, and that Geranium had no right to demand such things from her. Geranium was stunned. Wisteria told her to let her be crystal clear. She said that no matter what people said, she swore she had never once betrayed Garland's feelings. Geranium yelled at her, asking how long she was going to play innocent. Geranium told Wisteria to take that back. Wisteria asked if she would. Geranium screamed that Wisteria was a stubborn little bug, and that she should have just stayed put in the underground storeroom and let them do whatever they wanted. Geranium pushed Wisteria. Wisteria thought to herself that she was falling. Other students screamed. Geranium laughed. But Klein caught Wisteria at the bottom of the stairs, saying that was close. Wisteria was shocked to see Klein. He asked Geranium if she had any idea what she had just done. The onlookers were stunned, saying they could not believe Geranium had lashed out like that. Geranium ran away. Klein called after her to wait, but she fled. He sighed and asked Wisteria if she was hurt. She said she was fine. Other girls watching called Klein cool, saying he was just like a knight. Klein looked annoyed. Klein told Wisteria the place was too public and that they should move. They sat on a bench together. He handed her a handkerchief and told her to cool it down. Wisteria thanked him for catching her and said that if he had not been there she would have been hurt. Klein told her to stop and that it was done. He told her she should avoid Geranium and anyone like her. He said he knew it made her angry when they talked badly about her, but it would be better if she just ignored them. He added that if something happened he could listen to her vent, though only when he was free. Wisteria thanked him and told him he was kind. Klein was flustered and said it was nothing special. Wisteria thought about how if it were the old her, even with Geranium telling her to stay away from Garland, or if someone had talked behind her back, or if someone had hit her, she would have just quietly accepted it. That would have been easier. She should have just ignored Geranium. But when Geranium had said to stay away from Garland, she felt a strong irritation well up inside her. She clearly felt disgusted. She wanted to be with Garland. She would not give him up to anyone. Wisteria wondered what was happening to her. Garland was heading out and asked someone to tell the kitchen he would be running late again today. Wisteria, who was watering flowers in the garden, noticed Garland and looked up. Wisteria greeted Garland cheerfully. Garland pointed out that she was up early for a day off. Wisteria said her body clock woke her up anyway and asked if he was working again today. He said yeah. She mentioned that he had been getting back late lately and asked if he was that busy. Garland said things had been pretty crazy. Garland apologized for making her wait up for him all the time. Wisteria, caught off guard, quickly insisted she was fine. Garland told her that if she was tired she should not worry about it and just rest. Wisteria thought to herself that ever since she started living there, waiting for Garland to come home had become part of her daily routine. Wisteria told him it was because getting to talk to him at the end of the day meant a lot to her. She stammered that she really liked him. Garland told her that he liked her too, pulling her close. Wisteria was shocked. She nervously asked if he really meant it. Garland confirmed with a simple yeah. Her heart was pounding. Wisteria thought to herself that her face was burning. She quietly said she was glad. Garland smiled softly. He suddenly lifted her up, surprising her. She said she was so glad. He then set her back down. Garland thought to himself that her face, trying so hard to stay composed, was adorable. Wisteria then asked Garland if it would be alright for her to stop by the order today. Garland was surprised. Wisteria quickly explained that she knew she would just get in the way on the training grounds, but she could at least help with errands or paperwork, like cleaning or organizing documents. Garland appreciated the thought but said the order was mostly men, and bringing her there might cause problems. Wisteria's face fell. Klein then appeared and said he would go too, and that if anything happened he would handle it. Wisteria thanked Klein, saying that made her feel much safer. Klein asked Garland if that was okay with him. Garland reluctantly agreed, saying he guessed so. Garland looked at his gauntlet for a moment, then asked if they should go. They arrived at the Order's building. Wisteria introduced herself to the Order members, explaining that she would be helping out there for the day, and asked them to please take care of her. The members were immediately excited. They noted it was her first time there and eagerly offered to show her around. Wisteria was flustered by the attention. The members said they could not just dump grunt work on Lady Wisteria, as that would be wrong. One of them mentioned that the cook had said it was his day off. Wisteria offered to handle the cooking instead. The members were thrilled at the idea of Lady Wisteria's cooking and shouted to give full effort in training that day. One member pointed out they could not really ask her to cook for that many people. Klein told Wisteria he would help and that many hands make light work. Wisteria thanked Klein and said they should do their best together. Klein mentioned he could manage in a kitchen. Wisteria was impressed. Klein said that was not true at all and that he had only just learned the basics from Lady Mimosa. Garland quietly said yeah. Klein suggested that the captain should go tackle that stack of paperwork. Garland started to say he should help too, but Magenta said he was looking forward to it and warned Garland that he would not forget this. Garland and Klein exchanged a look as Garland walked away. Garland wondered to himself why everything always got so chaotic. Food was being cooked. Wisteria told Klein she was impressed and that he was really good at cooking. Klein said once you got the hang of it, it was nothing. Wisteria said she was jealous that he could do everything. Klein denied it, saying he had only learned the basics from Lady Mimosa. Wisteria then yelped when hot oil splashed her. Klein asked if she was okay. He told her to let him see and said that she should run it under water right away. Wisteria insisted it was fine and it was nothing. Garland was walking down a hallway and looked ahead. Garland noticed Klein holding Wisteria's hand as he was checking her burn. Garland reacted instantly. Garland rushed into the room. Wisteria called out his name in surprise. Garland told Klein to step away from her. Klein asked what was with Garland, barging in like that. Garland said she had gotten burned and Klein was just checking it. Garland paused, then said he understood. He declared he would take Wisteria to the medic and picked her up. Klein was left standing there, confused. Garland asked Wisteria if they should go. Wisteria was flustered by how close they were and told him to wait. Garland said he would take her and that he had been there when it happened, so it was his responsibility. Klein told Garland not to worry about it. Garland walked off with Wisteria. Klein clicked his tongue in frustration. Klein wondered what was with Garland. Garland carried Wisteria to the medical office. Wisteria apologized for him dragging her around like that. Garland said no, he was sorry for worrying her and that he was glad it was not serious. They ended up bothering the medic too. The medic asked them not to add to his workload. Wisteria told Garland not to worry about that. Wisteria told Garland that he had really startled her, saying he had rushed in like the world was ending. She said it was not like him since he was always so calm and collected. She then mentioned his hand. Wisteria pointed out that he and Klein had been holding hands. Garland said that when he saw Klein holding her hand, his body had just moved on its own. Wisteria told him Klein had only been checking the burn, that was all. Garland said even so. Garland took Wisteria's hand and said he had not liked it. He admitted that another man touching her hand besides him had bothered him. Wisteria looked up at Garland. He confessed that an ugly selfish feeling had driven him and that he wanted to be closer to her than anyone else. Wisteria told him there was nothing ugly about that. Wisteria said she felt the same way. She told Garland that if he had some girl he was closer to than her and they held hands together, she knew she would hate it too. Garland looked surprised. Wisteria got flustered and said she did not know why she was even thinking about things like this. Garland pulled her close and told her she did not need to worry. Garland told her he had no intention of touching any woman but her. Wisteria felt her chest hurt and thought her heart was pounding too fast. Garland nuzzled her gently. He then pulled back, saying no. He thought to himself that if he stayed he would want more. Back at the order, the members wondered how long those two were going to take as the food was ready. The view shifted to the Alizarin ducal estate. At the Alizarin ducal estate, Geranium was in distress. She asked why Garland would not remember her and pleaded for him to come back. She wondered if it was because Wisteria was there. Servants watched her nervously. Geranium grabbed stuffed animals and ripped them apart, laughing to herself. She declared that if it had come to this, she would force it. She vowed that she would tear those two apart. Wisteria was in a classroom where a teacher was lecturing. Wisteria was taking notes but kept thinking about Garland telling her he could not imagine touching any other woman but her. Ever since she had visited the order, she kept remembering that moment. She wondered what Garland was doing right then. The teacher called out her full name, Wisteria Neige Blanche, and scolded her for daydreaming during the lecture. The teacher then tested her, asking which was the fifth nation they went to war against after their kingdom's third king claimed the throne. Wisteria answered that it was Kairos, and that after that war it became their vassal state. She explained that officially Kairos needed their approval for politics, but since Kairos was rich in resources, they provided economic support in return and maintained a good relationship. The teacher told her that was enough and acknowledged that she had been studying well. Wisteria thanked the teacher and told herself she needed to focus on the lecture. During a break, Margaret told Wisteria that she had really worried her. Margaret said she had heard Lady Geranium pushed Wisteria off a ledge. Wisteria told Margaret she was exaggerating it. Margaret said Lady Geranium acted weird sometimes and told Wisteria to let her know if anything happened. Margaret then mentioned that Lady Geranium had been absent the past few days. Lady Geranium's friends were nearby. They could not believe she was still absent that day. Wisteria overheard them say it was much easier when Lady Geranium was not around, and that it was exhausting always having to keep her happy. Wisteria thought to herself that even so, to be absent for this long was concerning. Margaret suggested they just stop hanging around Lady Geranium. Wisteria thought about the order members telling her to stay away from the captain's girlfriend, and she noted Margaret really did eat a lot. Wisteria said she was a little worried about Lady Geranium. Garland was at the castle meeting with someone. They explained the situation to him and it sounded like an urgent request. They had specifically requested Garland. The prince acknowledged that Garland was busy but asked if he could count on him. Garland agreed, saying of course. The prince said that if this was true they could not ignore it. Garland knelt and swore he would get it resolved. Garland returned home that evening. Wisteria welcomed him back, noting he was home early. She asked if work had calmed down. Garland said not exactly, and told her he had been assigned to a posting starting tomorrow. Wisteria was surprised and asked if it was some dangerous mission. Garland told her not to worry, as he was not headed to the front lines. He said it was just a bit unsettling. Garland told Wisteria that a few days ago someone had attacked the young lady of House Alizarin. Wisteria realized that Alizarin must be Lady Geranium. She noted that Lady Geranium had been absent from school those past few days too. Wisteria said she never thought Lady Geranium would go through something that dangerous. Garland said they could not exactly say there was no danger as the culprit still had not been caught. The order would be guarding and investigating the Alizarin estate starting tomorrow. Wisteria grabbed his sleeve, looking worried. Garland told her she did not need to worry. Garland told Wisteria he was not about to lose to some criminal, that he was a knight after all. He promised he would solve the case and come back as quickly as he could, because spending time like this with her was what he looked forward to. Wisteria agreed that Garland was strong. Garland said he would miss having company while he was away. They rode together in a carriage. Wisteria was spaced out the whole time, and Garland called out to her. He pointed out that she had been staring off into space and asked if she was feeling sick. Wisteria quickly said she was fine. Garland noted she had been like that ever since the mission started, and that for some reason it kind of bothered him. They arrived somewhere and Klein stepped out of the carriage. He told Wisteria that while Garland was away he would keep her company. Wisteria thanked Klein. A woman then commented on how close the two of them were. Wisteria and Klein were shocked to see Lady Geranium standing before them. Klein looked tense. Wisteria told Lady Geranium she had heard she was attacked and asked if it was okay for her to be out and about. Lady Geranium said they did not need to worry about her, that she had only come to brief the headmaster about the incident and would be going straight home after. Lady Geranium added that besides, a gallant knight was kind enough to worry about her and agreed to escort her. She then called out to Garland excitedly. Wisteria realized the escort was for Lady Geranium herself. Lady Geranium said she really must be going and that she could not keep her knight waiting. She addressed Garland fondly, calling him her lord. Wisteria repeated the words to herself in shock. Lady Geranium then pretended to trip and fell into Garland's arms, squealing. Garland asked if she was all right. Lady Geranium said she had just stumbled a little. Wisteria stared at the sight of Garland holding Lady Geranium. Klein noticed Wisteria's reaction and told Lady Geranium to wait. He remarked that for someone whose life was in danger, she sure looked happy. Lady Geranium left with Garland. Wisteria told herself she knew it was just work, that was all. And yet she could not understand why it bothered her this much. A few days later at the Alizarin estate, one of Garland's men reported on the investigation. They had asked nearby residents about when Lady Geranium said the attack happened, but no one remembered seeing anyone suspicious. According to Lady Geranium, it had been a pretty flashy assault, and she said she had been so terrified that she ended up screaming without thinking. Garland found this strange, noting that the area was busy day and night. They were getting nowhere. One of Garland's men suggested that the captain head home for the night, as they had extra security and could handle things on their own. He asked Garland to please get at least a little rest. Garland agreed and said he would take them up on that. The men remarked that the captain had been on edge for days and that he should be grateful to them. Garland thought to himself that at a time like this it might be inappropriate, but he could not stop thinking about it. Wisteria was standing alone on a balcony at night, sighing. She thought that no matter how hard she tried not to think about it, she could not forget what had happened that day. She decided she should turn in since there was always tomorrow. She noticed it had gotten pretty chilly. Garland appeared behind her. He said he noticed she was out on the balcony and that he had not found her in her room, so he came looking for her. Wisteria was shocked to see him. She asked why he was back and what about work. Garland said he had managed to free up some time, so he returned for a bit. Wisteria asked if it was really okay for him to be away from Lady Geranium. She thought to herself that this was not what she wanted to be asking. Garland said it was fine, that he had plenty of capable people on guard tonight. Wisteria thought to herself that she never expected he would actually come back. She was embarrassed. Garland asked Wisteria if she was cold and suggested they go inside. Wisteria refused, saying she wanted to stay out there a little longer. Garland warned her she might catch a cold. Wisteria said it was fine because she wanted to talk to him a little longer. Wisteria told Garland she had missed him. Garland looked at her. Garland told Wisteria he had missed her too. She asked if he really meant it. Garland said yeah. Wisteria thought that it felt unreal and that the heavy feeling she had been carrying was just blowing away. She thanked Garland for coming to see her. Garland held Wisteria close. She smiled happily. He softly called her name. Garland then leaned in. Wisteria was caught off guard.